and welcome to Property Mastermind Podcast, episode 92, Everything You Need to Know About Selling Your Property Development Project with Hilary Saxton and Bob Anderson, the legend. This week, Bob and I will unpack everything you need to know about selling your property development project. But to do that, you have to have done a property development project, so perhaps you need to step back one. If you haven't listened to some previous podcasts, maybe it's time to do that. Anyway, we will talk about the pros, the cons, things you need to know, things to watch out for. It's going to be a fab episode. Let's jump on in. Hey, welcome to episode 92, everything you need to know about selling your property development project. Talking today with Bob the legend, as usual. And we've got a great episode in store for you. But before we kick off, Bob, how's your week been? Sometimes I feel like even though we live together, I don't see you.
Week's been great. No, talking to...
Is that because you haven't seen me?
Yeah. No. Never say that. But no, look, it's been great. We've met some new people this week. Some people have inquired about the mentoring program and the course and so forth. So always good to talk to people. Not all beginners either. Some of them have been quite active out there, but want to step up, take the next step, you know.
That often happens a lot of the time, and this isn't a plug, but I will do a plug at some point. But people do courses everywhere and then come to us when they're ready to get serious.
Yeah.
So which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome to have that reputation. And I think that's led by your experience being second to none, and I can say that wholeheartedly in the education space, and also our genuineness to help people.
Yeah. Good combo.
We care. Anyway.
Yeah, and also getting our new office sorted out.
Oh, yes. Last time with this nothing background. For those that watch us on YouTube, we're moving.
Moving office. We need more room.
We do need more room.
Too many people.
Well, one of the people that used to work remotely moved in. Yeah, literally. So, yeah, we need a bit more space now.
Yeah, okay, so that's coming up in a couple of weeks.
That is.
Yeah, so...
Next background will be, who knows?
I don't know.
Tropical island?
Tropical island, Amazon jungle, whatever you like.
Yeah, maybe we could do a property... Actually, maybe we should put a property development in the back. That would be a great idea. Oh, now I'm excited. I've actually just had a couple of thoughts. That's triggered something.
Yeah, okay.
For those who listen to us on Spotify or Apple, feel free to share this episode. We really appreciate it being shared so people know the great information that we share with people like you listening. We have so many, honestly, great emails every week. And thank you so much for those of you who do follow. I often get to speak to people and they go, oh my God, I can't believe it's you. And then I have to start my phone call with, hello, it's Hilary from Property Mastermind. It's hilarious. Anyway.
Yep, it is good fun.
And also, if you're listening to us or if you're watching us on YouTube, just hit subscribe and then you'll get a notification. Anyway, Bob, let's jump into it.
Yeah.
Everything you need to know about selling your property development project. So what are the options?
Well, you could sell yourself. Sorry, let me rephrase it. Not sell yourself. You could sell your project yourself.
Some people do sell themselves.
Some people do sell themselves.
Yeah. Nobody listening here.
No. Well, I don't know. It's all good. But so you could sell your project yourself. You can't sell somebody else's because you need a real estate license. But yeah, look, you can sell your own project.
So what's the difference? I know. Let's have a little look at that. So you can sell your own because you developed it, but you can't sell somebody else's because you don't have a license. So is that just a law?
Well, it is. Yeah. Every state has its own legislation around real estate agents and the licensing and the education component to that's pretty well standardised across Australia these days. But basically, to be an agent, in other words, to sell other people's properties, you need an education, you need a licence to do that. But you can sell your own property. I mean, lots of people, well, maybe not lots, but a number of people just sell their house.
I've sold my own rentals. I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, you might. And as a developer. And remember that you got to check on the legislation in each state to understand what the rules are, because they can vary a little bit. But generally, developers can sell their own stock, or at least up to a certain number per year. Sort of the rules change over time, yeah.
So, Bob, in your experience or the knowledge that you have, is there any one particular state that's generally a little bit more strict than another when it comes to selling yourself?
Yeah, look, I'm not really sure because I don't know the legislation in every state. But
note something you don't know, Bob.
Oh, I can check on it for you. I don't have to know anything, but I do know where to go to find the answer.
Yeah.
Like for instance, in Queensland, the old rule was some years ago, as a developer, you could sell up to 6 lots a year of your own, and then that I think changed to be open, and then because some of the bigger development companies have in-house marketing. Like I've worked for a couple of those big companies where we have a whole division within that property development company run by a person with a licence in many cases, and we have might have had 10 or 15 salespeople out on different estates and different projects selling. So that's almost like a real estate agency within a property development company, which is a bit different from what we're talking about. We're talking about maybe smaller developers just selling our own product. I'm not up on all the legislation around the country because it's not something I really advocate. I mean, it's something you can do in certain circumstances. It's something I don't generally do.
No, I remember you did do it. Yeah, I know you have done it. And I suppose knowing you like I do, you are always about get the person who knows how to do it best to do it.
Yeah.
It's usually more efficient. It's going to...
it's how you value
time, efficient money,
It's how you value your time. And some people can't sell and don't want to sell, and that's fine. I started off in property, in real estate, in agency. So I was selling land subdivisions, lots, vacant lots and lots to builders, and builders would build houses and I'd sell the houses for them. So that's how I started off in property development to get my leg in the market. So I'm quite capable of selling real estate, but do I want to?
I would have
Not really.
loved to have experiencing you try to sell me something.
Yeah. Oh, well, I do it all the time.
I know. Actually,
I keep selling myself.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. And you're back in your stalking days. Yeah, you're definitely selling yourself.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, own it. Own it. And so there's that sell yourself.
Yeah. So look, nobody knows more about your project than you do.
Yeah.
No agent will ever know more about it than you do.
And nobody loves it more than you. Or has a relationship, not necessarily loves it.
Yeah. And so why would you if you could? Well, you save agents commission. I mean, that's substantial. Agents' fees are sort of range a bit from state to state. It varies in the range of, say, 1.5% to 2% of the sale price. So if you were to do I'll keep it simple, $3 million townhouses. I mean, that could be 50, 60...
3 times $1 million townhouses.
Yeah.
That not could, $3 million.
No. 3 times 1 million. That would be, that could easily be $50,000-$60,000
per townhouse.
Well, overall.
Oh, overall.
Well, you think, but you think of what? Let's average 2%.
Okay.
2% of $1 million, $20,000 times 3 is 60. So.
Do you know New Zealand? It's around 4%.
Yeah, it is expensive over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Queensland's possibly the most expensive state.
Really?
Yeah, but then it's relative to the price of the properties. Like in some suburbs of Sydney, obviously, Sydney on average could be twice what another capital city is in terms of value. So one sale in agent would make twice as much money if the percentages were the same. So
yeah.
So although Queensland's got a high percentage, it doesn't have the same average value as, say, Melbourne or Sydney.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is, if you're a good agent, you make lots of money.
And lastly, the marketer, really. You could use a marketer?
Well, that's selling yourself. So if you are going to sell yourself, you know what I mean? Sell the project yourself.
Well, let's just clarify that now. For the rest of this podcast, when Bob talks about selling yourself, he's talking about selling a project yourself, not selling yourself.
No, exactly.
Clarification done.
And so there's lots of aids these days, where you can get a listing on, say, realestate.com, which normally you have to be an agent to get. You pay a flat fee. There's people who actually have a marketing system for you to sell your own property. They'll supply access to realestate.com. You can even upgrade to banner ads or whatever you want to do on that. They have signage, for sale signs that go out the front. They have lead-in signs for open houses. And basically they supply a package. And there's a number of those around at the moment if you want to go down that path and have a go yourself. But there's one thing I always say to people is, if generally agents don't like to sell a property if the owner is also selling. So normally any project that I've ever sold myself, and it hasn't been many because it's not really something I feel like doing, I've just sold it myself. Like, I haven't co-listed it with an agent. It can get quite messy. I did do one once where both myself and the agent were selling, and if that's ever the case, you have to be very careful that you have a price on the property and you're both selling at the same price. And because I have seen people come unstuck where they think, oh, I'm selling it myself and I've got an agent selling. That's not what I recommend at all. But they think, well, I don't have to pay the agent's commission if I sell it, so I can be a little bit flexible on the price, you know. That's not a good thing. So anytime really pretty much I've done it is I've sold it myself, purely by myself, not with an agent, or I've sold with an agent. And in fact, the last time I did it was probably 6 or 7 years ago now, because it's not something I want to do. But I did it partly because I did a joint venture with my son Luke, and I thought, he hasn't actually sold real estate, give him a crack at it. And so...
To see if he wants to sell real estate.
Oh, no, just to have the experience.
As opposed to being a financial advisor.
Yeah, well, to have the experience of talking to buyers.
Yes.
Because I think that's a good thing for property developers to understand buyers, obviously, but also, you know, in that situation, you're talking to them, you're showing them the property, you're describing it, you're following them up, you're answering their questions. So that was a good experience.
And I think when you say that, Bob, that also, because he would have had a passion about the property and like we started with.
And a financial interest.
Yeah, exactly. No one has that
interest.
relationship with that person more than, with the property more than the person who's developed it. But you brought up something very interesting there, and that is it teaches people to communicate. And when you understand, there's so much that goes into selling something, and a real estate agent does have that specialised knowledge because...
And they've been trained in sales as well.
When you understand human behaviour, buyer behaviour, I have a marketing background and then I've done personality profiling on top. Pretty much if I talk to someone, I can pick up pretty fast how they like to be spoken to, and you can understand what sort of information they want. Like if you talk to somebody like me, I want bullet points, direct, tell me what it is, no fluff, what's it, you know, just give me the facts and I'll make a decision pretty quickly. Talk to somebody like Bob, it's a little bit of a want to think about it process. It's more around what it can do for you, your family, everybody else. There is a little bit more of a conversation around it. Talk to somebody like your son Luke, it's more he wants the brochure with all of the information, you know, all of the information. And then, you know, there's some people who just want to have a bit of a laugh. They like you, so they buy it. Not to that extreme, but sort of. They want a little bit of information, but not really. They're just sold on the emotional side of it way more. And there are more people in the world. Over 60% are more like you. But when you can read people, when you understand how they like to be told the information, that has such a big impact on the ability to sell something, because there's nothing worse than being sold to and someone's waffling off. For me, I'm just like, done, see ya, I'm switched off.
Yeah. So that's, you know, you could consider selling your own property. You'd have to generally, you know, have ads, which you'd run in realestate.com, get one of those packages that you can get, run your own open homes.
I didn't realise through realestate.com you had to have a license to advertise in there. Okay.
Yeah, but like you get access through their license.
Yeah, I understand that, yeah. And also you could use, if you wanted to, what about Facebook Marketplace? Do people sell them on there? They probably do by now.
I'm not on there very often. I've seen, even Gumtree in the day, I mean, it's probably fallen apart a bit, old Gumtree, but I know at least 2 people that have bought sites off Gumtree.
I think probably...
And so Marketplace might have taken over a lot from Gumtree. I don't know. I don't go there a lot.
But if you were going to do it yourself, why would you not advertise them both? It's about exposure, isn't it?
Yeah. So look, you certainly can. I mean, why would you? You save quite a bit of money if you're capable of it. But really, what's the best use of your time? I'd rather be like working on another project or doing something else, just letting the experts do what they do.
And also,
I don't want to micromanage that.
Oh no, and the potential to understand how to use a contract or the actual sale and purchase agreement, is that just done by a lawyer, or how does that happen? Yeah,
you definitely want to work with your lawyer if you're selling your own property. They can prepare contracts for you, and it's not just the contract, it's all the relevant documentation that precedes it, cooling off periods, all those things. It's a bit more complex than it used to be years ago. So you'd need a lawyer to guide you through those, because you're presenting the seller, or the buyer, I should say, with the contract and all the correct information. You don't want to stuff that up. So work with a lawyer for sure. But that's not my preferred way of doing it.
No. What's your preferred way, Bob?
Well, I mean, that's selling yourself. You did ask me at the beginning, what are the different ways of selling your project? And I started with selling yourself, but agents typically, and I'm talking about local real estate agents, is typically what you would use on a small project. And when I say local real estate agents, generally you might start off with the agent who sold you the site in the first place, because obviously they're looking for the sales at the end. That's where they make most of their money, by selling the finished product. And there's this an expectation to some extent that they would have first crack at the sales. It's not a written law, but the agent that sells you the site might get first crack at the sales at the other end.
And if you think about that, sort of take a step back a little bit logically, they've already sold it to you, and hopefully you've built up some sort of relationship, and you would have experienced their process. So you'll either think they were rubbish or they were great. And if they were great, that would be a reason. And often if we go back to when we talk about, or when teaching how to find a site, it's about establishing that real estate agent relationship as well. So it all would kind of tie in. I could see how that, or you.
Sometimes there's two types of agent too. There's agents that are really strong and work for the seller. And that's really what they should do, because the agent is getting paid commission by the seller. They're an agent of the seller. They should get the best price for the seller if they do their job right. And that's what a good agent should do. But we all have come across, I'm sure, sometimes agents that you think, well, they're not really doing a great job for the seller, because they're saying things like, oh, look, it went under contract 3 weeks ago for this amount. And they're really feeling the heat. So maybe if you went in at that, or even a little bit less, I'll push it for you and try and get it signed. Like sometimes you meet agents like that, and that's wrong, of course. They're
dodgy.
And a lot of agents are in the middle, in the respect that they're just trying to broker a deal. Yes, they're trying to get a good price for the seller, but they don't want to miss out on the sale. So there's often in the middle.
Do you know, we just had an experience with 3 agents, right? Because we've done a little bit of moving and shaking, as we do. So one purchase, the agent was very down the line working for the seller. You know who I'm talking about? Yeah. He was down the line.
As he should be.
As he should be. The next we had a slap-happy, absolutely ridiculous agent who was so disorganised.
This was a commercial agent.
Yeah, commercial agent.
It was a commercial transaction involved in.
Nightmare. Not nightmare, but just, we were sending them, and we were following them up. And remember, we're paying them in this case. It was pretty bad. And then the third one, which auction, but we had dealt with the agent first of all. And would that person, you say, have been working for the seller or for the...
Oh, he's in the middle. That guy.
So there you go. Yeah. And that's all within the last 5 to 6 weeks.
Yeah. So we're dealing with an agent on another side at the moment that I know really works hard for the seller. Yeah. And so they're not the people that I really love when I'm buying. No,
you can't bend them.
I respect the guy and he's doing the right thing. But when you're a buyer and you've got someone you know is really pushing hard for the seller, you got to work harder and be a bit tougher.
It's harder to negotiate.
Yeah. So, but by the same token, if I'm selling my project,
that guy.
He's a good guy to have on there.
Yeah.
Whereas if somebody is obviously not even working for the seller, like that example I gave you before, would you really want them selling your project?
No.
So it's not a foregone conclusion that you would have the same agent selling your product that sold you the site. And so it's how you deal with that. Some of them say, oh, look, even before they find you a deal, look, if I find you a deal, I expect to get the sales. And I say, if you find me a deal, we'll certainly discuss it, and you got first crack at it. But that's something we're going to have to discuss, because I don't know you well enough yet, and I want to know more about you, and I want to see how you perform before I'll guarantee that. And that's what I say to them, which puts them on notice to perform a bit. But yeah,
we've had some. I think I interviewed an agent way early on at the beginning of this podcast when I wasn't quite as good at podcasting as I may have gotten. I'm not saying that I think I'm great, but there's definitely some improvements from episode 1, 2 and 3, that's for sure. But we've also got a few mentoring students that are in our that are real estate agents. Actually, probably in the last few years, we've got one pretty hot one now, and she's an amazing real estate agent. Can we give her a plug?
Who?
Terry Ann Murray.
I know.
Yeah. Terry Ann Murray, the legend. She's an amazing real estate agent, but we've had a few others, around the country.
Yeah, in different states.
Yes, and then I just remember when another mentoring student was selling a 4-pack, and he had a great agent. I think she was a great agent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so she did a fabulous job, I think.
You had a financial involvement in that project,
Yeah,
if I remember right.
I did, but I did interview her, but that was nothing to do with my financial involvement. But I think what she did well, and that's the skill of a great real estate agent, if you're going to use an agent, is she knew in which order to sell which apartment, because some were better, some were some were on the road front, one had a pole in front of it, which to sell first, and she nailed it. She did a fantastic job. So there is a bit more skill involved than just being able to read people and being able to list property.
Yeah, that's good. There's an old saying, never sell your best properties first in real estate, and that's for sure. But and she followed that. But some agents, of course, they just
want the sale.
They just want any sale. They'll sell your best one first, and they'll sort of set a prices. You work backwards from there. But
yeah.
But the other thing, I did mention the word local agent, and that's really important.
Yeah.
Is to have a local agent. And I bought a site once for 5 townhouses, and it had been on the market for 2 years. And it was overpriced, admittedly, and I did have to leverage lever the price down. But after 2 years of not selling it, it wasn't that hard to do.
I was wondering what word you were going to use there.
Yeah, but no. What had happened is he had some relationship with a real estate agent, a friend of the family, relative, I don't know what it was, 9 suburbs away.
Oh.
So this guy listed his property
with his mate,
with an LJ Hooker office, which is fine, but 9 suburbs away. And also, when I saw it, I was introduced to it by the property manager. I knew the property manager who was managing the rentals there.
Yep.
And he knew the guy wanted to sell it. He said, "Oh, look, I've got a guy who's been trying to sell this site. It's got an approval for 5 townhouses. Been trying forever. Would you like to have a talk to him?" That's how that connection, and that's how I eventually got it. But when I went there, there was no sign on the fence anywhere, and I found it sort of under the house. It was a high-set house, and then I realised there was somebody 9 suburbs away. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? Although I was dealing directly with them, I thought I'll just do a bit of a quiet thing. I rang up an inquiry. I said, "Oh, look, I noticed you got a property for sale over in such and such a street in the suburb." And
this is after you'd been an agent, like years later.
Oh no, this is when I was looking at the site to buy it.
Yes, but this is a lifetime after.
Yeah,
Bob's
20
had
years
lots
later.
of lifetimes. Yeah.
So remember, this is a site, had a DA for 5 townhouses. I was introduced to it by the managing agent.
Yep.
The guy had it on the market for 2 years, couldn't sell it, had it listed with an agent 9 suburbs away. I rang that agent and I said, "Oh, I understand you've got a property for sale over it," and I gave them the address, and they couldn't find the listing.
No. No way.
Well, it'd gone stale and probably fallen off their list.
Oh.
And so, but this guy, I mean, silly guy. Firstly, silly guy for listing it with somebody 9 suburbs away. That's not a great thing to do. But he obviously never followed up too much.
It's terrible.
I know he was a busy guy, the owner, and he was involved in another project he'd bought that had lots of problems as well, because he wasn't a real developer. He'd never done a course. He just stumbled from one disaster to another. And so there you go. And she didn't even know about it. So God knows when he would have finally done something, but it was starting to hurt him as well. So I got in there at the right time, helped him out, bought it off him, got it at what it was actually valued at, not what he was asking. He was asking about probably 25% over what it was worth. But we got there.
Hey, Bob, just on that, what about using a buyer's agent to notify? We haven't really talked about that one. You know, if you
Finding sites, you mean, not selling them.
But telling a buyer's agent that it's available, that's kind of, would that qualify as selling it yourself, or how does that work?
I mean, there's buyer's agents who find investment properties for people.
Yes.
and what you've developed might be a good investment product.
Yeah.
So yeah, by all means, that's another good way. That's a good one there.
How would you go about doing that? Just find a decent one?
Well, you can Google buyer's agents if you don't know any personally.
I get about 5 emails a week from them.
Yeah, there's an influx of very inexperienced buyer's agents out there.
But we know some good ones.
Of course. Yeah. So make contact with buyer's agents who have, but of course they're representing the purchaser, so that's the other side of the equation. But yeah, make them aware of it. The good thing is there, I suppose, in a way, that you wouldn't pay commission. The person who buys the property pays the buyer's agent a fee for finding it. You don't pay the buyer's agent a fee. They can't double dip, at least they shouldn't. And so that might be a way of selling something. And you could even offer the commission you would have paid through an agent, which is being your fees anyway, as a discount to the client to make the other guy look good, because the buyer's agent's job is to try and get stuff at a good price. So he could say, well, look, I've negotiated X dollars off it, but really it's because you're not paying the commission to an agent. So
while we're on commissions, Bob, so if you were to use a buyer's agent or make them aware of it, there's zero commission. You talked about real estate agents being around 2% state dependent. What does a marketer like?
Well,
what are their commissions?
That's our other people. So we've moved from real estate agents now onto project marketers, marketing. Now, generally, they're not that interested in small projects. So you normally have to
what steps over small?
It's hard. It depends on them. Probably 6-pack upwards, maybe.
Okay.
I mean, there's some big marketing companies that don't want anything under 22. 20 also, not 22. So, yeah, it does depend. But these are the guys and girls, who charge 6-7%, or a flat fee, could be 30, could be 40 grand. They charge a lot more than a real estate agent. So why would you ever do it? Well, it's because they normally have a big database of people. They work particularly well if you're selling investment stock.
Yeah, there's a lot of investment outside of the box rather than mums and dads.
And most of my life I've developed investment stock a lot more than I've developed stock for owner-occupiers.
Yeah.
And I have used some of these marketers, these high-priced marketers, and that's okay. Yeah. Look, the reason that their commissions are so high is there's often one or two or three people involved in the sale. So in order to get a big database, in order to get volume and lots of sales, they have to work through other people.
Yeah.
So they might, for instance, be in contact with a number of accountancy firms who, when the accountants have clients where they decide, look, it'd be a good idea if you bought an investment property, it'll help you for tax and this and whatever else. And then that's the connection there.
What a great
financial
problem to have,
planners to a degree, finance brokers, lots of people. So they have a lot of networks where people who refer purchasers to them get a fee, and so that there might be a $40,000 commission, whereas an agent might be 20 or 18 or 15 or something, but there might be 3 people getting a feed out of that.
So that's why it's a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And Bob, moving on to staging, I know what you and I think, but I just like to ask questions because I ask questions I hope that the people are listening are thinking. What do you think about staging?
Oh, I'm totally in favour of it.
Yeah, me too.
But you don't stage everything.
No.
So obviously, if you sell your properties before the titles are issued, then there's nothing to stage.
No.
So you wouldn't. I'd stage owner-occupier.
Yes.
Product.
Because it's emotional.
I generally wouldn't stage investment product because they don't really give a rip too much about how the furniture looks and where it fits.
No.
Investors are interested in numbers. It's analytical. What's the vacancy rate in this area? What sort of rental can I get? How close is it to transport and shops and everything? All these other things. That's what investors want. Owner-occupiers, of course, buy with emotion. And that's where it's good to stage. I know you staged, well...
Yeah.
I worked as a labourer for you.
And Bob was my lackey.
On your last reno in New Zealand.
And with stage it looked amazing, and that's sold within 12 hours. So that was probably, without a doubt, it was the staging that did it. But prior to that, when I'd probably sold about 4 before, I think 2 myself and 2 with agents, and that was just how I felt at the time. But we definitely even though we ended up living in them to finish off the reno before selling them, I would strip the house so it looked like a show home, and it was just my daughter and I living in there, and it just looked like a show home 24/7, and that, I think it was almost like a staged house.
Yeah.
But we just took out a lot of the stuff because you don't want your place to look cluttered when you're selling. And
No.
yeah, so that was a type of staging. It's definitely, I believe it's definitely well worth the effort to stage.
And it proves to people that it can be furnished.
Yes.
It's funny when some people look at an empty house, they think, oh, I'm not going to fit a king size bed in here, or this or that. Whereas when it's done, oh yeah, because people have funny ideas about size. You know, like particularly when there's a blank canvas, like an empty house. Staging definitely works, and I'd say that it can even help you get a better price.
Yes.
I mean, it costs something to stage, obviously, but I think you more than get your money back. First of all, in the speed of sale, because it's costing you interest every day. So the sooner you sell and settle, the better. But also, I think on price. So yeah, I'm definitely in favour of staging owner-occupier properties.
So we've pretty much gone through the pros and cons of everything you need to know about selling your property development project. But before you can sell a property development project, you have to actually make a property development.
That's right.
Yes. So
how do you do that?
Well, I've got a great plan. You could sign up to our free masterclass. Obviously, we'll talk about the products and the programs that we offer, but we do lead you through like how to get started on property development. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about what we've got coming up, just click the link below. I'll get that put in beneath this podcast, and yeah, come along, jump on. It's online from 9 till 1 Sydney time, and usually finishes about half an hour early. But yeah, come along and experience the wonder, the amazing Bob Anderson teaching, because he's pretty fabulous at it, and just see if it's something you might like to learn, so you can then have the decisions to make whether you will be selling your project via a marketer, through yourself or through an agent, or perhaps even telling a buyer's agent. So Bob, anything else you'd like to add to?
I think we've covered it.
Okay, we've covered it. Well, I hope you found that riveting and interesting. And we've got to give away the book this week. The book goes to Mr. Kingsley Mitchell. Kingsley, this is in the post to you. In fact, I think it might even have gone out yesterday. So Kingsley, enjoy. Remember, straight to page 121, where you can learn all about why Bob Anderson believes that property development is the pinnacle of all property strategies, why he's been in this industry for around 39 years plus, and why he likes teaching people like all of you listening how to become property developers, and not just how to become a good property developer.
Yeah.
And yeah, change your life and the life of the people around you. I think that's it. We're done. Little plug on the end. Check out propertymastermind.com.au. We will catch you next week. See ya.